Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Blue Sports. I am your host, Matt Voltz, and I am joined by a very special guest today this afternoon. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Trent Sunick. I'm excited to do the show.
Yeah, fantastic. So Trent is the younger brother of Molly, who is our PR director here at Fredonia Radio Systems. And Trent, I understand it is your birthday today, so happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining the show. So Trent, like myself, is a very big sports fan. I know we're both Bills fans, and we're both New York Knicks fans. We have our Knicks gear on today, celebrating the win over the Philadelphia 76ers last night. And that's one of the things that we'll talk about. This is the first time I have ever had somebody else on an episode of Big Blue with me. I have been doing this show since the beginning of my freshman year here. I've been doing it since October of 2022. And this is the very first, you are the very first guest on Big Blue Sports, Trent. So there you go.
I'm honored. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I figure we can talk about the Knicks first. I know you're a big Knicks fan, as I am as well. So the win over Philadelphia last night, what'd you think of it?
I think it was a little ugly at first, but I think Jalen Brunson showed that he's the most clutch player in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that the Knicks were able to do that without Karl Anthony Towns, obviously he didn't play last night, and definitely a good win. And it kind of feels that much sweeter beating a rival like Philadelphia, huh?
Yeah, I like Kyle Bridges also. I think he covered Karl Anthony Towns' spot pretty well offensively. I think he put up a lot of points in the first half to kind of give the Knicks the advantage heading in the rest of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I missed parts of the game. It's always Wednesday night. It's always a busy night for me. But, yeah, I think it was definitely a solid win for a team that Knicks are still third in the Eastern Conference, trying to chase down Cleveland and Boston, although both of those teams have been really, really good. I know that you were just out in Cleveland to see the Knicks play the Cavs in a game that did not go the way that we were hoping would go.
Yeah, definitely didn't go very good. I was hoping for a good performance by the Knicks to try to fight with Cleveland, but they're showing that they are the number one seed and they deserve it.
Absolutely. I mean, they're off to a phenomenal start so far this year. So you've been a Knicks fan your whole life, Trent?
I haven't followed the Knicks for my whole life, but I've been a diehard fan since at least the start of last season.
Yeah, I was telling Trent the story of how I became a Knicks fan. So it was my senior year in high school, and I had COVID. I was sick with COVID, and I was sitting alone with in my basement with nothing to do. So I turned on the Knicks game, and they were playing against the Boston Celtics, and they were down by 20-some points in that game, and they started to come back as I had the game on in the background. And I hadn't followed professional basketball, in a number of years, and so I decided that eventually it was a tie game with just a couple seconds left, and I said, if the Knicks hit this shot to win the game, I'm buying a jersey. And lo and behold, R.J. Barrett hits the shot, and I'm wearing my R.J. Barrett jersey today, even though he doesn't play for the team anymore. But yeah, it's kind of fun to have a team to root for that's winning a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Having the thought that they can win the championship that year, it really gives motivation to watch every game of the season.
Absolutely, and the playoffs are really just a different animal. I know there's still some to go in the rest of this season, but there's the playoffs. I know a couple of years ago, watching the series against the Miami Heat 2 years ago, one of my best friends is actually a Miami Heat fan, and we lived right next door to each other. Our rooms were right next to each other, and we actually shared a wall, and so we would be watching the games at the same time in our own room. And the Knicks would do something bad. They'd give up a three or something like that, and I'd be yelling or slamming my pillow down or something like that, and I just hear clapping on the other side of the wall, and that's how I knew that my friend Parker was in good spirits, and the Heat won that series, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm curious if you could think about some of your favorite moments as a Knicks fan. What might some of those be?
I think the number one would definitely be Game 2 of the Sixers series last year. Dante DiVincenzo for that three-pointer.
Yes, the double bang from Mike Breen.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch. Watching Jalen Brunson in the clutch honestly, even last night was just exciting. He does that a lot. Hits clutch threes. Karl Anthony Towns 3 against the Raptors earlier this year to kind of put a dagger in the game. just a lot of moments, a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about those are the moments that kind of make you more of a fan. It's certainly fun to watch. So you told me before we started the show, you also said that you're thinking about sports management for your career eventually someday.
Yeah, I love sports. That's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
After school, just focus on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of really great opportunities for working in sports. I know you've got some time to go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that at least at home your mom's probably pumping the brakes and saying, "Not too fast, don't grow up too soon." My parents were the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a lot of exciting things to look forward to, and an exciting rest of the basketball season to look forward to. I also understand that you play basketball team for your high school team.
Yes.
Very good. Awesome. I know that I heard you hit, what was it, a game-winning shot
Yeah,
I
I
heard
did.
about earlier this year? You want to talk about that at all?
We were down by 1 point. Probably a little more than 20 seconds left. We had the ball. Another kid on my team got a steal, and I forgot who it was. I'm not sure who it was, but they put up a shot. We got an offensive rebound, called the timeout. Another play, another offensive rebound that was a tipped ball, called another timeout. Then we had a play designed for me to run to the paint to try to get a quick layup there, but they crowded that really well, and we got it out to the three-point line. Probably about 4 seconds left at this point. Puts up a three. It's tipped in the air. I grab it right at the free throw line, and I turn and I hit a fadeaway shot.
Oh, right at the buzzer?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And to seal the win for you. So how is your team this year? Pretty good or
Definitely weren't the best.
middle of the
league,
pack? That's yeah.
But we won a few games, and
Yeah.
we I think it was our second to last game of the year. There was this really good team that was pretty far away from us, and the first time we played them, when we went there, it was like a Saturday morning. They beat us pretty good, but
Yeah.
they came to our school, and we actually put up a really good fight, and we almost won.
Nice, fantastic. So you've been playing basketball for a while then?
This was my 4th year.
Oh wow. All right. Yeah. So you're on JV or varsity this year?
I was on JV.
JV,
but
yeah.
I'm playing for varsity right now.
Fantastic.
For their playoffs.
That is awesome. Fantastic. And well, good luck to you in your playoffs for sure. I know that high school basketball playoffs are starting kind of all across the area. I have a couple games that I will be doing some color commentary before. I've done, there's some of the boys games and some of the girls games, but definitely good luck to you. It's basketball playoffs. I've always kind of felt that it might be the most fun playoffs. I mean, between March Madness and then the NBA playoffs, just the high school playoffs. It's fun.
It's just exciting, big shots, big moments.
Yeah, exactly. And you think about sometimes you have those unsung heroes that hit the big shots in the biggest moments. And there's been, I think about, or when your star players really come to play and are at the top of their game. I think about the Kawhi Leonard shot for the Raptors several years ago.
Looking at that.
Yeah, when they were on their playoff run, I was actually just talking to our sports director, Mitch, about this the other day, and he remembers watching that live on TV as it happened. And those are kind of fun. I always love getting into these sports discussions, but are there any like sports moments that you watched live that you can think of that were like awesome?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Dante DiVincenzo shot.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of NFL playoffs. At that Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl, the outcome wasn't, great in my opinion. I think that game was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
The Lions game versus Seattle this year, Jared Goff put on a phenomenal performance, going 18 for 18, completion-wise.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Lions. You're a Lions fan as well as a Bills fan, right?
Yes.
So how did you become a fan of those teams?
Bills fan, grew up in Western New York.
Right.
My mom was a Bills fan. That's kind of what was on the TV. And I remember I didn't really start watching football like a diehard fan until 2021, 2022. And I kind of watched the Bills. It was a lot of fun. And then I kind of wanted to get my own team to root for. It was kind of fun. And I remember there was a few Lions games on. I forgot who they were playing. It might have been probably the Vikings, I think. And I just kind of went on social media and learned who their players were. It was a lot of fun. And Dan Campbell is an awesome coach. I think he's a really cool guy. And then I started watching 2 or 3 seasons ago, their full season, and it was just a lot of fun. And the players they've drafted are really good and have great personalities.
Yeah, the Lions are one team. I'm obviously a Bills fan through and through. I have been my whole life, but the Lions are a team that if the Bills aren't playing, I root for them, and that my family's the same way. They always said that going into the playoffs, they said if the Bills can't win the Super Bowl, we want the Lions to. And it would have been hard if the Bills and Lions would have met up in the Super Bowl. How tough? I mean, that would have been tough for sure.
Yeah, it definitely would have been tough because one of the teams gonna win, but
Right.
on the other hand, one loses, and I feel like the loss weighs a little more than a win.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, anyone who was alive during the Bills' 4 straight trips to the Super Bowl, which fortunately I guess we were not, but both of my parents were. They were both students at Fredonia for a couple of those Super Bowls, and unfortunately had to witness those 4 losses in a row. But hopefully, maybe one of those teams can get to the Super Bowl and win it. Neither one ever has, so maybe.
I think Josh Allen can easily bring the Bills to the Super Bowl.
That is the hope. That is definitely the hope. I mean, you lose to Kansas City 4 times in 5 years in the playoffs, and it kind of wears on that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know, Josh Allen. I feel like he's get him a little more superstars, and I feel like he will absolutely destroy the Chiefs in the playoffs.
That's fingers crossed. I'll tell you a little story. I actually, when the Bills first drafted Josh Allen, I was not happy about it.
A lot of fans were.
Yeah, so I gotta think back here. I would have been 13 at the time, and I remember, if you can believe it or not, I wanted Josh Rosen on the Bills. I wanted the Bills to take Rosen, and I remember I was standing in front of my TV when the Bills traded up to the 7th pick to get him, and Roger Goodell's reading out the name. He says, the Buffalo Bills select, and he says, Josh, and I light up. I'm thinking, I'm going to get the guy I want. And then he said, Allen, and my mom has described it to me. She said that my face dropped as soon as he said Allen. I was not happy.
That's crazy.
It's
looking back at that now.
I know. I mean, look at what happened to Rosen.
Yeah.
And look at what, obviously Josh Allen has become, and I wear my Josh Allen jersey on game days always, and it's so crazy. And you think about Josh Allen's story too.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he came from a small high school, I mean, he probably came from a high school that's similar to the size of the high schools that you and I went to.
Yeah.
And which is to say small.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that he's done what he's done with his career. And I think you're exactly right, Trent. I think you surround him with some talent, and maybe the Bills can do something special.
Yeah, I think he's only entering his prime. I think he's going to put up even better numbers the following years. He's easily top 3 quarterback in the league, reigning MVP. He can do it.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, I still am just glowing over the fact that he won the MVP. I really thought Lamar Jackson was going to get it. I thought that they would go with the fact that Lamar had those better passing stats and stuff like that. I thought that's what they'd go with, but they gave it to Allen, and I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I was pretty hyped about that because, it really starts his legacy, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, the last Bills MVP before that was Thurman Thomas all the way back in 1991, which definitely neither one of us were around to see. So, it was kind of puts the Bills on that national stage, which is something that, I mean, when you and I were growing up, that was not the thing. I mean, you probably remember watching the Bills for some years that they were not great.
I remember, so they always played at like Sunday 1 o'clock because they were a rough team. And I remember one time they played, I think it was a Monday night game, and I was really confused. Like, I had no idea they played Monday night football. I was probably like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember all those games that it would be they would get like a one Thursday night game, and they'd be playing like the Jets or someone every year. And do you remember the game they played? I'm trying to think when they played the Jets and the Bills were wearing their all red and the Jets wore green head to toe. It was a Thursday night game. It was, I'm going to think what year that would have been. 2015 would have been. And they were, the Bills had all red head to toe and the Jets had all green. There were people that were mad about it because you think about anyone who's like colorblind.
Yeah.
They couldn't tell the difference between the two teams.
It's rough.
Yeah, they had no idea. But I remember all those years where, they were just not great. And all the games would always be those Sunday at 1.
Yeah, I remember. Always during the day. And
Yep.
it took me a long time to realize that the night games are the prime time games that you want to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was always they would have those Monday night games, but you would know that they were going to find a way to lose.
Yeah.
It just all the time. Anytime they were on national TV, they always found a way to lose. It just like every single time. It was so frustrating. I can remember they'd have a Monday night game against like the Patriots, and that would be a big game, and they'd lose.
Yep.
I remember they played the Seahawks one year, and they'd lose. But I mean, we've been fortunate that we've been able to watch a great Bills team the last few years.
It's been a lot of fun.
It really has been, and I think that in terms of for Buffalo sports, I can tell you that we need that. I mean, the rest of Buffalo's teams aren't really all that great, as I've talked about at length on the show before. So we don't even need to talk about the Sabres today. I mean, just no need, even though they won the other night. But yeah, I think that just the Bills and the Lions are two teams that are so fun to watch, and I think they're kind of similar teams too. They're teams that are high offense and entertaining to watch.
Yeah, definitely go through the air a lot, especially on a deep pass or something. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs and James Cook are similar in their speed out of the line. They have a big burst and can get you 20 yards down the field fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about the conversations going on with the Bills right now is James Cook talking about his contract situation, and I'm not sure what is going to come of that. I mean, it's he wants to get paid. Do you pay him or do you hold off a little bit? I don't know the answer to that.
That's definitely a tough one because you see the offense do a lot better when James Cook does better.
Yeah.
And without a running game, you're putting Josh Allen in a tough seat, having to air the ball out 400 yards a game to stay competitive against top teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of, I think maybe the Eagles have made it different for how people feel that teams should be built, because you look at they were so successful in large part because of what Saquon Barkley did for them this year.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley put the team on his back at times. He's great in all levels of the running back game.
Honestly, arguably one of the best seasons I've seen by a running back, maybe ever.
Yeah, definitely. That Rams game he had, that was excellent.
Oh, it was, it was incredible. The way that he was able to break off some of those runs, just how do you defend that? How do you stop that?
You see a lot of guys who break off runs but aren't as fast. He can do both. He can break off a run and he can outrun defenders.
Yeah, and part of that too, the Eagles do have a very good offensive line, as do both Buffalo and Detroit. So that definitely factors in. Your line creates openings that your backs can run through for sure.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of teams that have good O-lines. That's when you start to build up. We see a lot of the teams with the worst records in the league. The reason they have that is because their own line can't start an offense for them. And I think we're seeing teams focus on building an O-line first, and that helps them in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, it's kind of almost nowadays, it's kind of almost the key to winning games. For sure. So we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll be here to talk more with Trent about all sorts of different sports action here on his birthday. So we'll be back shortly. Thanks for listening to Big Blue Sports on WCVF 88.9 FM, the campus and community voice of Fredonia.
What's up? I'm Matt.
I'm Colin.
I'm Pat.
I'm Joey.
We're House and Home, and you're listening to WCVF 88.9, The Voice.
And welcome back to Big Blue Sports on 88.9 WCVF. Have you ever been bored at home just playing video games or watching the same old movie for the third time this week? Fredonia's Media Collective will hold their second video game orchestra concert of the semester on Sunday, April 6th, 2025 from 6 to 8 p.m. located in King Concert Hall. Who knows? Maybe they will play your favorite tune. I talked about this the other day. I'm not as big of a video game player. I don't know about you. I play sports games, and that's about it.
Yeah, I definitely play a lot of 2K, Madden, some NASCAR games.
Yes, I played, and we'll talk about NASCAR here in a minute too. I am such a Madden player. I exclusively play franchise mode. I always play franchise. I don't know about you.
I go back and forth between Superstar and franchise. I played franchise last week a lot. You know, sometimes I'll have like a week I'll play franchise, be stuck in that, then I'll go back to Superstar.
I always, so when I play the games, I always put it on rookie. I don't like to lose. So I always put it on rookie, and I put up like 100 points in one football game, and it's great. I mean, like, I've played games where Josh Allen has thrown 13 touchdowns because I have it on rookie mode and I'm playing against like the Jets. It's fun.
I always put on all Madden. That's Superstar and franchise. I always like having to come back from something.
Yeah. You like the challenge. I love it. That's fantastic. I like they used to do years ago. They don't do it anymore. The moments, they had like the Madden moments where you could jump into a game and play that. I always loved that.
They should bring that back.
I agree. I think that was such a fun. I also have ESPN 2K5, which is a really old game, and it's like regarded as one of the best football games of all time. They have this thing that's called ESPN 25th Anniversary, and it's different historic moments like in NFL history that you can jump in as the team and play. Like, for example, there's a couple with the Bills. They have the wide right, their first Super Bowl loss when Scott Norwood missed the field goal. You can jump in as Jim Kelly in the offense and lead the Bills down the field against the Giants to try and win the game. It also has the comeback game against the Houston Oilers where it puts you in the third quarter and you're down 35-3 and you've got to come back. I think it's so fun.
I feel like there are so many you could do recently.
Oh, absolutely.
And like I feel like it would be more exciting than the older ones. I mean, we're seeing a lot of great football recently.
For sure. I mean, think about some of the great, but you think about, all right, one that was not so good that happened for us was the 13 seconds against the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of.
Yeah, exactly. There's that. You think about the Minnesota Miracle with Stephon Diggs and the Vikings against the Saints a few years ago. There have been some other ones. The Hail Murray, of course, now I'm just thinking about things that were bad for the Bills. I don't know why, but there are all sorts. And there's stuff like that for other sports, too. I wish that, like, 2K had that. And I haven't played 2K since 22. So things are probably different than the last time I played, but I would love to have something like that in.
Yeah, definitely would add another aspect of the game.
Yeah, for sure. I used to do on 2K, I always used to I would do my league, and I would always add an expansion team in Buffalo.
Yeah.
This was in between so I told Trent before the show that back about 10 years ago, I was a Golden State Warriors fan. And my cousin and I loved watching, the Splash Brothers. I was a huge Klay Thompson fan, and we would always watch Warriors games together. So I would do a Warriors mode sometimes. But also, I think I had one where I had Steph and Klay Thompson, and if I remember correctly, I somehow got like Kawhi Leonard, Giannis, and Joel Embiid on the Warriors. That was my starting five.
That's a super team, right?
I think I won. I think I went like 76-6 or something like that. It just I like to win. I like building the super teams.
Fair.
I did that with the Bills recently. I did a Madden franchise mode, and I needed some help on the defensive line, so I went and got this one was on Madden 25. I went out and made a trade with Carolina for Derek Brown, who I love because he played for my favorite college team, the Auburn Tigers. And I also got George Karlaftis from the Chiefs. And George Karlaftis had 35.5 sacks in one season. For context, the record for most sacks in a season is 22.5, which is set by Michael Strahan in 2001. So he kind of shattered it.
I like to go in a franchise, pick like a not as good roster as like Buffalo. And I like drafting and trying to pick good prospects and seeing how they turn out over the year. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did one. Oh, this had to have been, I think this was on Madden 19. I did a Colts franchise mode. It was right after Andrew Luck retired. And I did a Colts franchise mode. And if I remember correctly, the first season I tanked to get Trevor Lawrence. I intentionally made the team so bad. And then I got the first overall pick and I drafted Trevor Lawrence. And then I had some good draft picks and I traded them for good players. And I think I won the Super Bowl in like 3 years.
I do something similar on 2K. I go back to the my eras, and I go to like 1984, and I tank, and then you get Michael Jordan, and then if you get another draft pick, you can get Hakeem, and then you go off from there, and then each draft is the real life draft, so you could pick what player what would be the best out of that. I think that's a lot of fun.
I've never done that before, but I think I need to. I think I need to get like MJ, and I would go back to. I love like the historic draft classes too. I'd go all the way back to 1970 and put Bob Lanier on my team. I mean, that's a local. I mean, I'm a St. Bonaventure fan. Bob Lanier played at Bonaventure, so of course I would do that. But yeah, I think that would be awesome. So Andrew Nicholson years ago, he played for the Orlando Magic briefly, and he came to he played to St. Bonaventure. I always wish he would have made it in the NBA. I love when local players, really make it big. But yeah, I would create my expansion team. The Buffalo Braves, I'd bring them back, and it depended on how easy I wanted to make it. Sometimes I do the expansion draft, and sometimes I would make it so like I would have teams protect the regular number of players, so it would be like a standard expansion team. And then sometimes I would say, you know what? No one's allowed to protect any players. Steph Curry and Giannis, welcome to Buffalo. I had 1 year I did this was on 2K22. I had Klay Thompson. I believe I had a starting five of Jalen Brunson. I hated to take him away from the Knicks, but it was Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I had Brunson, Klay Thompson, Kawhi, I think, was my three. No, it was Devin Booker, and I moved him to small forward because I felt like it. Fair. So I had them. And then, did I have Cat? I can't remember. I had someone else who was like a good big man. No, you know what? I had my starting five was Brunson, Klay Thompson, Devin Booker, Giannis, and Zion Williamson. I said, you know what? We're just gonna make this the greatest team you've ever seen.
Athletic team.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it would be a lot of fun. I've always been so drawn to franchise mode. And I do like Superstar too on Madden. I've done that. I think it was on like Madden 20. I was a quarterback and I got drafted by the Broncos. And I had a couple of good seasons. I had absolutely no one who was good in any way. The only good player I was throwing the ball to was Cortland Sutton. Yeah. But I would want like Philip. It was when Philip Lindsay was the running back for the Broncos, and so I would throw passes to Philip Lindsay out of the backfield a lot, and I love it. I always enjoy it. I don't get as much time to play anymore as I used to, but I always loved it.
I have a Superstar in 25 for quarterback. I got drafted to the Buccaneers, and that's like one of the perfect teams because you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and your team's not a super team, so you have to like really play well to
right.
Bowl.
So what team? So for Superstar, is that I can't remember. I haven't done it in a while, and I haven't done it on 25. But is that the type of thing where you design the player and what college they go to, or you play the college games? I can't remember if it still plays the college games anymore.
You don't play the college games anymore.
I didn't think so.
You design your player. They made it recently where you now do the combine, and then you get drafted off of that, off your combine performance, and you can pick what kind of quarterback you are. Sit in the pocket, agile quarterback that runs around, any of those.
Which one do you usually go with?
I usually go with an improviser.
Okay.
Throwing the run.
I know. I always scramble. I did this was on NCAA 14, but I did a Road to Glory, which is kind of similar. It's the same idea. And I had a quarterback. Somehow I not only maxed out my throwing abilities, I also maxed out my speed and acceleration. I was a quarterback with 99 throw accuracy, 99 throw power, and I also had 99 speed and 99 acceleration.
That's crazy.
I was tearing up opposing. Like, The only problem was, so I played at Iowa. The only problem was my offensive line was not very good. And as the seasons went on, for some reason, my school just like absolutely stopped recruiting defense to the point where I was having to score 60 points a game to win. There was one game, my national championship game, the last game of this Road to Glory mode. The final score of the national championship game was like 91-70 or something like that.
A whole lot of points.
Because my defenses, everyone starting on my defense was like a 68 overall or something like that. And then I was tearing it up at quarterback because I would take the snap, and I'm always so frantic in the pocket on these games, and I know I am. But I would take the snap, and if I didn't see someone open within like 2 seconds, I was taking off running, and I'd pick up 15 yards per carry.
I always roll out to the right or left or something.
I always do too. I roll out and I throw, and this is why I can't play on the hard difficulties. I have such a habit of throwing on the run, and I did that. I was playing, I think it was Madden 23. I was playing for the Bills against the Rams, and I kept doing that with Josh Allen. I would send Stephon Diggs just going deep to the end zone, and I just put it up for him, and I got picked off by Jalen Ramsey like 7 times in one game because I just wouldn't stop doing that.
Yeah, I like to throw on the runs while the receivers run like a slant route.
Yes.
I think that's probably how it works the best. Madden's a little goofy sometimes when it comes to your throws.
Yeah, absolutely. It always like, I don't get the Madden glitches as much, but every once in a while it'll be like, you'll throw a pass that I did. I had one, I was just playing as the Bills, and I threw a touchdown to Dawson Knox, and they said incomplete, but I was pretty sure he got his feet inbounds. So I challenged it, and I won the challenge, which I didn't even know that you could do anymore on Madden. Yeah, I won the challenge, and so it changed the score. And then after the game, I was looking back in the stats, and it didn't count the touchdown. It just, the score, I think the final score was like, it was like 35-20 or something like that. But yet it said that I only scored 4 touchdowns. I was like, what?
My least favorite is, this one's pretty common in the recent ones. I've seen a lot. The linebacker will often be looking the complete opposite direction or sprinting at full speed at something completely different, but somehow get the pass in the air and jump, like have a vertical higher than Michael Jordan's and somehow rip it in the air with one hand. Yeah,
it's just like Madden has gotten so bad with that, with just all of the errors and glitches and stuff like that. And that's why I think a lot of people have wanted there to be some sort of competition. There hasn't been. The most recent non-Madden officially licensed NFL game was NFL 2K5. And I mean, that's a game that came out in August of 2004.
Yeah.
I mean, for context, that game came out when I was 3 months old.
Yeah, I mean, now that you only have EA owning the rights, there's no competition. They don't have to put out an excellent game. They can upcharge it and leave it.
And they do. And there's so many years where it's just Madden is almost like a carbon copy of what it was the year before. And it's just, I think it's frustrating to fans like us when it's the same game every year.
Yeah, I got Madden 23, 24, and 25.
Yep.
And I think this year there was a little bit of a difference, especially in the UI. But 23 to 24 is almost identical.
It really is. I didn't get, I don't have 22, so I went from 21 to 23. And there was some difference, but you're right. From 23 to 24, I didn't notice any kind of a difference.
Yeah, especially in Superstar mode. I mean, this year they added the draft combine, and just the other 2 years there was just no difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just very similar in kind of a little bit of a frustrating way.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So we are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue to talk all about various different sports. We're going to talk about NASCAR, too, at some point, because we're both big NASCAR fans. And we are going to come back in just about 30 seconds. So thanks for tuning in to Big Blue Sports Podcast on WCVF 88.9, the campus and community voice of Fredonia.
Tune in to News at Noon on Mondays and Wednesdays at noon with an additional news segment on High Noon Friday, every Friday at noon. News at Noon gives you your local, campus, and international updates, as well as sports and weather. Be sure to tune in.
And welcome back to Big Blue Sports on WCVF. It is the Trent Sunick Birthday Special here this afternoon, and the first time that I've ever had a guest in the booth with me. So when we went to break, we were talking about the Madden games and sort of the frustration around how there's really not a lot of difference from year to year. And you said that you've got a superstar on Madden 25 right now you're the quarterback for the Bucs. How far into it are you?
So I was quarterback for the Bucs for, I believe, 4 seasons. Didn't win a bowl. I got close a lot of times. I threw a lot of picks.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Falcons. And
nice.
Basically, Madden has, you have like Kyle Pitts and Drake London who are like superstars. And in a few years, they're going to be like a 95-plus overall just because that's how progression works. So I got put on like a stacked team. And I think I'm like 3 seasons into that in the Falcons now. And I won 2 bowls now.
There you go. Yeah, I have one. I'm trying to think. So I am on season 3 of my Bills franchise mode, the one with Karlaftis sacking every opposing quarterback in sight, and he's still doing that. And I'm on season 3. I play the moments of a lot of the games. And of course I play it on rookie, so I always win. I had one game against the Dolphins that went to overtime in my first season. I have not lost a game. I've won every single game. I had one where the development trait upgrade opportunities.
Yeah.
When it'll say like, get this receiver certain amount of yards, like 150 or something like that. So I had that with Khalil Shakir. He needed 150 yards and 2 touchdowns receiving, and he also somehow needed 100 yards rushing in one game.
I've never seen that.
I've never seen that. And I think it was to get him to like X Factor, or it was something. So I said, okay. So I started doing like the little like pop passes where he goes in motion and Josh just takes a snap, kind of pitches it to him. And so I kept doing that with him. I was playing against the Ravens, and Shakir finished the game. So he broke the record for the most receiving yards in a game. He had like 370 yards receiving.
Golly.
He caught 4 touchdowns and ran for 2. And I kept doing like the end arounds with him, and those counted as his runs. So he had like 170 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Allen threw for like 930 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Wow.
It was great. It was just like, I just felt like it. I don't know.
It's fair.
It was fun, but yeah, it was. And beating the Ravens was kind of fun. I don't particularly care for the Ravens.
No,
I don't know about
not after their playoff loss.
No,
All bad things are away.
that playoff game was unbelievable. That Bills Ravens playoff game.
It was nerve-wracking.
It was weird because for some reason I had that feeling. I was like, I think we might be okay. And I remember when the Ravens scored the touchdown with 1.5 minutes to go and then lined up for the 2, I remember thinking, okay, even if they get the 2,
Still going down the field.
exactly, it's a tie game, and the Bills have 1:30 and 2 timeouts, and we have Josh Allen, and a field goal wins us the game since the AFC Championship. So I think that thought is, I was like, I wasn't super worried, and then of course Andrews drops it.
Yep.
And which was just absolutely insane. And they go to the AFC Championship, and I thought they were going to have it this year. I really did.
Yeah, it felt like they had beaten the Chiefs in the regular season.
Yep.
It felt like Josh Allen had kind of a new thing going on with winning big games. I don't think he had beaten a top 3 seed in the playoffs until the Ravens.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And I think him beating a top 3 seed in the playoffs kind of gave that extra motivation for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge, and then ultimately, you come up short. You have the 4th down measurement.
Yep.
That was
Close.
questionable to say the least.
Yeah.
But and you had that. You had the the 4th and 5 when Allen tosses up a prayer.
Almost got.
Yeah, and I mean, somehow pretty much almost hits Dalton Kincaid in the hands.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people say that he dropped that or should have caught that, but that was a wild throw and would have been an even crazier catch.
It should. I mean, it like you think about it, really never should have come down to that either.
No.
So it's kind of. I think it's frustrating in a way that you come up short again. I mean, for a lot of Bills fans like myself, watching the Chiefs get pounded by the Eagles in the Super Bowl was therapeutic in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to take one Barkley to finally get a ring.
I did. Yes, that definitely was good to see, and it's cool to see Nick Sirianni too.
Yeah.
The fact that he's a local guy.
Mm-hmm.
He went to school at Southwestern, and he's winning the Super Bowl. It's kind of cool for anyone in our area into sports.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys on the Eagles teams are elite players that just deserve a ring because they're that caliber of player. And I look at the Rams Super Bowl like that. A lot of guys in that team had never won a bowl, but deserved one. Aaron Donald, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, all those guys. I think that Super Bowl it just felt nice.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It really did. And while you're on the topic of birthdays, birthday fun fact, I share a birthday with Aaron Donald.
Nice.
I do. You know what? Now that I'm on this, I'm so curious. Who else's birthday is it today in the world of sports?
I know Luca's is tomorrow.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Let's go to famous birthdays. Let's see who else's birthday it is in the world of sports. There's so many like YouTube stars, and I'm like, I don't know who absolutely any of them are. We'll look at football players. Let's see here. Hopefully it doesn't. Oh, that's just football players in general. So what day is today? February 27th? Yeah. I'm curious now. I'm so curious to see any football players whose birthday is today and whose birthday you share, because I realized that it was a couple of years ago that I'm just going to Google it. It's not. I realized a couple years ago that I share a birthday with both Aaron Donald and a few other. Oh, it's Tony Gonzalez's birthday.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. So Tony Gonzalez, Chris Godwin.
Yep.
There's a few players on here. Chandler Jones, Sam Martin. Is that Bills punter Sam Martin? I think so. Yes.
Nice.
There you go. You share a birthday with the Bills punter. It's
Cool.
something. It's
like
something. You'll take. Yeah, interesting. Well, there you go. You share a birthday with Tony Gonzalez, Chris Godwin, and the punter of the Bills.
That's nice.
That's kind of cool. I like that. There was an old Sabres defenseman years ago. His name was Brian Campbell, and I share a birthday with him as well. But Aaron Donald is the main one that I know. But it's good that it's good that your birthday's not February 29th. I always feel bad for people whose birthday is February 29th. You only get a birthday celebration every 4 years.
Yeah, you kind of have to celebrate a day early or day after, kind of.
Yeah,
Awkward.
exactly. And then it's like, okay, if you're born February 29th, how old are you? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're born February 29th of if you're born February 29th of 2008, then okay, are you turning 17 or are you turning what, 5?
Yeah.
Something like that, like whatever 4 years we're on, something like that. So, yeah, definitely, it's kind of cool. Tony Gonzalez,
Yeah.
great tight. He was an awesome tight end.
Great tight end.
Arguably the greatest.
Yeah.
Arguably.
Arguably.
It's between him and Gronkowski and Travis Kelce.
Yeah. I always like to give it to Rob.
I would also give it to Gronk. I think that Gronk had he could make those plays that would wow you,
I think he was the definition of a tight end and what he did.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, it helps when you play your whole career catching passes from Tom Brady, but I did see actually the other day that he hinted at making a comeback.
I did see that. I think the Broncos were looking into it.
Yes, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I'd be curious because I'm pretty sure he's the same age as Travis Kelce. If I'm not
Probably
mistaken.
just about. Yeah, I wonder if he can still play. I remember a couple years ago there was rumors that the Patriots were going to trade him to the Lions and then he retired instead. Yeah. I remember that. It was and Gronkowski's another local guy.
Yep.
Being from Buffalo, my old physics teacher from when I was in high school, she grew up with him. She grew up with him and all of his brothers. And so there was a picture she showed our class. It was her brother, who are both pretty short, and then Gronkowski, who's about a foot taller than them at least. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Gronkowski, I mean, he could do things that other tight ends just couldn't do.
Yeah, I think if he were to play now and come back, I think he'd bring a lot of intelligence to the game, and I think he'd be able to teach a lot of young guys how to play that position.
Yeah, I think he definitely could, and that'll be something that will be interesting to watch as the offseason progresses. I think it's going to be really, really cool.
I'm excited for the offseason. Going to be a lot of big moves.
It absolutely will be. And you think about the Combine getting started, and you think about the NFL draft and Buffalo picking 30th overall, maybe needing to add to defense a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. Are there any ideas that you have for the offseason for the Bills or the Lions?
Not that I can think of. I mean, Lions, you almost don't want to ruin a good thing.
Right.
I think they have good players in almost every position. I think the one thing they could focus on is their defense. I think they have one of the, if not the best offense in the league. I did hear some rumors about some of the offensive linemen retiring soon this year. Who knows? So I guess they have to keep updated on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be a very big deal to watch. Well, that will just about wrap up our show. Any final thoughts of being on today? Anything in general, Trent?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we were definitely glad to have you on. It's a lot of pressure being the very first guest ever on Big Blue Sports, but definitely thank you for coming on. Hopefully it continues to be a great birthday for you, and we would love to have you back again sometime.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So be sure to catch us next week, or well, just me. Trent won't be here next week, sadly, but definitely be sure I will be back here next week. We'll talk Fredonia sports as the winter sports are pretty much officially, we can close the book on them, and the spring sports are getting up and rolling. Of course, Bills off season is going to be picking up as well. And we're going to be taking a look at the Sabres and how the rest of their season is going to shape out. So for Trent Sunick by my side, I'm Matt Volz. Thanks for tuning in to another week of Big Blue Sports Podcast here on WCVF 88.9 FM. We will catch you next week.